fortune and fame. With all the love you give, that's all there really is.
When you grew up um, in the church, were you singing in the church as a young person?
Yes, I was. I started leading songs at 8 years old, and I was very shy, so I didn't like it at all. But my family recognized that I had a gift and a talent. I didn't, because everybody around me I thought sounded better than me, so I didn't think I had anything to offer. But they recognized I had something, and so I would lead songs at 8 years old. My sister, Mona, was the choir director. It was a big church, large youth department. My dad was not the pastor at that time when I was, 8, 9, 10, 12. He was the musical director. And he was very popular in Memphis. And he would actually make extra money teaching choirs all over Memphis the new songs. Because,
Huh.
we don't have iTunes and all that stuff that we got
Right.
now. So you need somebody to just kind of come around and kind of lead to you like what's new and what's popping. So he would do that, and he got popular that way. Like they would have rehearsal all week, and then the church would have a big concert on that Sunday, and he would make a little extra money, and the church would make extra money, to keep the lights on and make sure the church was functioning. And so he started out there known as a really great singer and a musical director. And I was always with him. So that's when my first ear training, because I was always with him. And then he would teach people parts, and he would encourage the person that had the least amount of talent, but they wanted to be in a choir. So I learned that too, patience and, encouraging others. He was great at that. And so at 8 years old, I didn't have a choice. I just had to do it. And, I tried to resist, but that didn't work. I wasn't gonna go anywhere.
the the music that you were doing at the time, how, like, at what point did you sort of shift into secular music, or was it all happening at the same time for you? Like, were you
It,
immersed in both?
it was happening all at the same time. I don't know how to turn this thing off. It was all happening at the same time. And music was a part of our lives. You know, my sister Mona was the true music lover in the family. So she brought everything home: rock and roll, jazz, blues. She still does. She's the type of music fan that would write magazines. That's
Hmm.
how devoted. So
Right.
we always had all kinds of music in the house. And we heard a lot of things. It's just gospel was that main thing because that was what my father was into. But we listened to everything, so it wasn't like you had to have either or. It didn't get
Right.
complicated until I became 21, and then I have an opportunity to be in my first band. And then uh that made things complicated because then by this time he's a pastor.
Right.
And he was like, my daughter is not going to be singing for the devil. I was like, what? It's just a restaurant. People bring their kids. It was the most popular restaurant band in Memphis. And the band was called MVP, Most Valuable Player. The restaurant was Cajun Wharf, and it's seafood. And people, one side is the full blown restaurant, the other side is like a bar. And he was just like, and like I said, from 8 to 21 years old, when I was 21, he was like, no, no, no secular music. And my daughter is not gonna sing for the devil. I'm like, it's just a job. And it took my sisters, my older sisters, Debbie, Mona, and Yvonne, to advocate for me to be like, well, Dad, we think she really has something, and it is a nice place. It's not, he was thinking about old Bill Street,
Right.
where drugs everywhere and prostitutes everywhere or whatever. Just he just had the worst image in his mind. And they were like, you just need to check it out, and you'll see it's a nice place. It's just a restaurant. There's none of that stuff going on. And it took my sisters to advocate. And I remember this is the first time I had ever went against my father, not like talking back, not
Right.
talking back in the back, but he would quote scriptures and I would quote scriptures, and we're walking back and forth through all the rooms of the house. That was the first time that had ever happened, and because I really wanted it to, and I thought I would grow from it. And I had scriptures I would quote. I don't know what they were now, but he would quote them, I would quote them, and I'm following him, he's following me through the house. It was first time. And then my sisters advocated, and then they went on and I worked there for 3 years.
Wow. Did you ever go back to singing with him or in his church or
I
was
I was still at the church. I never
yeah.
left. I never left, but and he just, he had the worst image. He just thought I was going to turn into some drug addict or alcoholic, you
Right.
know, and I'm like, I didn't have those kinds of things on my mind.
How the interesting thing is that the so much of the music that has come out really comes out of the church. That a lot of the soul music, obviously, and the R&B comes out. You can draw a direct line to where it comes out from gospel music. How much of that do you still like? How much does it still influence you when you are singing?
Well, now that I know who I am as an artist and what I want to sing about and the type of melodies, the foundation is set. That set the foundation. So from that, I added classical music. That was the other foundation because my high school was a performing arts high school. And, my teacher convinced me that if you can master the basics of classical music, then you can sing any style of music. So I use that all the time. And that's how I cross genres from jazz, pop, blues, country music and soul and R&B. So I just, use the foundations to go where I need to go. I don't necessarily have to choose one or the other, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Our song that we have together on the album, and by the way, thank you so much for being on this album. We have a very good mutual friend, Mark Prentice, who's my
Yes.
co-producer on this, and when we were looking at this song, we said, oh, we should have be great. We have a female singer for this. Like you were choice 1, 2, and 3. He said, we got to
Woo,
call
thank
Wendy.
you.
And you did. You were perfect for it, knocked it out. Um, the theme of it is based on the scripture passage that talks about the greatest commandment of God: love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. I was talking about this earlier, that that's not always the easiest thing in the world to do. Loving someone else as yourself, it's hard enough when you're just yelling at somebody on a highway who's cut you off. How do you um, how does that show up in your life? Like how challenging is that for you? Have you found ways um, to embrace that and to live it? You seem like, every experience I've had with you, that you're very much in check and in tune with the things around you. But it can't always be easy. How does Wendy Moten deal with this as a life challenge?
I had amazing role models. My parents were consistent with that. My dad had 5 daughters and a son, and he taught us how to be independent and he taught us how to be strong, but they also taught us how to be compassionate and have empathy and sympathy for
Right.
others. So, I'm going to start with love first until I have to defend myself. And so it's easy because I'm always going to come open and going to come with love. So if you come back at me with something else, then I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to let you abuse me, but I give you the
Right.
benefit of the doubt and think about some other resource, other places of what may have you in where your mindset. But I'm going to come with love first. I'm going to come with tolerance first. It takes a lot to just have me close the door on you, a lot. And it's choices. I choose to be that way. I choose to stay grounded. I choose to be sympathetic and have empathy
Yeah.
until proven otherwise.
Right. Trust but verify, as
Yes.
they say. What are you excited about, going forward into this? We're in the new year, just for you personally, and professionally. Like, what kinds of things are you looking forward to as we roll forward here?
Well, I always say that my music career has been a lot of amazing Forrest Gump type moments. My whole career. I've worked with the greatest icons in music my whole career. I'm the best kept secret. Nobody knows I exist. I feel like I'm in a parallel universe alongside what's really going on. And with that parallel universe, I've been able to have longevity in the music business because I just keep going in and out and in and out, but still moving forward. Prime example, how did I infiltrate country music as a middle-aged Black woman from Memphis, Tennessee, playing the opera often, who's not a country artist?
Right.
Thank God for Vince Gill opening the door. I went in and I had to make my own way, but something in his heart opened the door. And it was a place where I wanted to be in the style of music. And with that, I consider myself a Linda Ronstadt type of artist because I still love soul and R&B and jazz, and I like to go through all the different genres. And when it comes down to country music, since I live in Nashville, I love traditional country music because I grew up watching Hee Haw and Soul Train.
Right.
That's my stick. When I go on the Opry and they want to know, why is this lady here? Who is she? Well, I grew up watching Hee Haw and Soul Train, and I love them both.
Right.
I love singing the traditional country songs as much as I love singing Aretha Franklin, or Yolanda Adams was the singer. I used to sing her songs in church because she was, the contemporary when I was growing up. She was a contemporary, and so I sang all the Yolanda Adams songs. So, that was and Tremaine Hawkins. Tremaine Hawkins were the songs I got. And they were all on the more pop contemporary side of gospel at that time, 70s, 80s, 70s. And so again, with that foundation, I've been able to go through many different genres and just look at every experience as something to add to my arsenal. So I never know what's going to come into my life. So like I said, I go from country to jazz to R&B to your songs, Christian. And then, I get called on the short list to perform for Ringo Starr, who was inducted into the Nashville Musicians Hall of Fame in September. And they were like, hey, would you like to sing a song for Beatle? Photographs? I was like,
Would I?
yes,
All right.
yes. And it was only like 200 people invited, so it was a private event. But
Wow.
like, I'm a part of that history forever, singing and co-hosting this show, honoring Ringo Starr with all the heavy hitters, all the record labels, all these people that wanted to be a member, part of the 200 they were invited. And there I am. He's like 30 feet from me, singing a song to a Beatle. If that's not a Forrest Gump moment, I don't know what is.
Right.
Because that'll never happen again.
Right.
But it's like one of those. So I have all those kinds of moments my whole career, and I've been like parallel, and I think I like being parallel because I have more freedom, I have more control. I can keep crossing all the different genres and not limited to that one thing that people know you as, and that comes and goes, and then it's a short window there.
Right.
No matter how great you are, the window is short.
Well, I know you think parallel universe or not. I know about you. I know about you. Uh, and I'm certainly grateful for you. The one last thing I wanted to ask you was it's funny because Gloria Gaynor is the narrator on our project here that we're talking about. And I remember asking her this because she, her and I talked about she's a person of faith, and the music industry can be what's the old line about a sunny place for shady people, at times. So I'm just curious, what your father was concerned about,
Mhm.
how have you navigated that throughout your life? I mean, we're all adults. We know that there are certain things about this industry that are, but how have you been able to sort of like justify all that and get through it and maintain yourself, knowing that there are again some shady things that might go on?
Well, like again, I was blessed with a solid foundation. My father, my mother, you know, they were living examples. They weren't perfect. And my dad used to say, I'm not perfect. He used to encourage us, live your life, keep God first, live your life. As a teenager, preteen, my daddy told me, listen, you're a young lady, all you have is your reputation. It's in your control. Only you can
Right.
control that. So just growing up with that, knowing that, okay, the decisions I make will take me down different roads, and knowing that I have choices, okay, just learning that as a young age helped me make better decisions. And I was always a loner, so I never had to worry about like peer pressure per se. So that never, and I think it's because of the foundation that I had. So I can be in a room with everything going on and just be like, no, not for me, but good for you, and keep it moving and not feel any way
Right.
about it.
Right.
And I think just having that and having, a family that, we were just taught to love each other and be there for each other. Like I don't remember having any arguments or altercations or any with any of my sisters or my brother, or, we just talk it out, but there really haven't been any issues. Now we live in a real world. And so again, I have to be analytical and figure out how I'm going to handle it without losing myself or having any regrets. So I don't have
Right.
any regrets in my life because I try to do everything, make a move on purpose, think about what I'm going to say on purpose. And because people can't unhear what they said, what you said, they can't unhear it.
Hmm.
If you say I hurt your feelings about something, then I have to accept the fact that obviously I hurt your feelings. I might not feel like I hurt your feelings, but the first thing I'll say, well, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that. And I won't do that again. And
Right.
that helped me throughout my whole life. Just because I don't think I hurt your feelings, don't mean I didn't hurt your feelings.
That is a wise point. A very wise point. Um, well, again, thank you so much. First of all, for just not only taking a few minutes here to talk, but for being on this album, for being on this record. It just, you take it to a completely different level. Um, it's an honor to sing with you and to have worked with you on this. So I just wanted to thank you again, sort of publicly here. And I hope that we get a chance to chat and in person sooner than later, and maybe do this again.
But let me know. I love the song, by the way, and I love your body of work. It's really beautiful and very thought out. And I hope it does exactly what you wanted to do. And thank you for asking me to be a part of it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Wendy. Have a great night.
All right, Mark.